Today, we're talking about one of the fastest growing areas of St. Louis on the rise, and that is Foristell. So if you've been hearing people talk more and more about Foristell, and maybe you've never heard about it, or you're like, where is it, and what's the big deal? We're going to explain that in the video, and also why you might hear some people refer to Foristell as the new Wentzville. So if you missed out on the growth of Wentzville in the last 10, 20 years, it looks like Foristell could be going in a similar direction. So we're going to talk about the growth, new construction, and what to expect if you're thinking about moving to this part of the St. Louis area. Welcome back to the Living St. Louis channel. I'm Jacob.
Hi, I'm Kelly. So Foristell is one of my favorite parts of Western St. Charles County. Foristell is pretty much the westernmost city in St. Charles County.
A little bit further out there, you're about 50 minutes outside of downtown St. Louis from the Foristell exit on 70. And Foristell is actually split in two between St. Charles County and then Warren County. So it's out there, has much more of a rural, secluded feel.
But it's not so far out that you're like out of civilization.
Mm-hmm. You're still 10, 15 minutes from a bunch of great shopping and amenities. But if you want more of that rural kind of country feel, you will find that in Foristell. And actually, the 63348 zip code, which includes Foristell, is the fastest growing zip code in St. Louis right now as far as rate of change. So it's not growing the fastest as far as new people moving in, but the rate of growth year over year, it's up there and it is growing pretty quickly. So right now in 2025, the estimated population is around 750 to 800 people roughly. The city of Foristell estimates that by the year 2032, there's going to be 28,000 to 30,000 people living in Foristell, which is crazy. So when we talk about all the growth and new construction that's happening right now, it's because we think it's heading in that direction.
So I live about 10 minutes from this area, and this is kind of like the Ladue or Frontenac-ish of Western St. Charles County. There's a lot of luxury homes. There's a lot of luxury builders, but there's also still a ton of undeveloped land, ripe for development. But the builders that are there now are building luxury developments on acreage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are hundreds and hundreds of acres for sale throughout Foristell. I mean, there is millions of dollars of land here that is either for sale, under contract, or recently closed that is going to be prime for development of some of these luxury neighborhoods on acreage. Or sometimes, you'll see someone buy a piece of land like 15, 30, 50 acres and just build one massive house on there. So if you're looking for a lot of that land and acreage, privacy, more spread out, more peace and quiet for yourself.
It is a little bit further out there if you're talking about westward expansion and headed west from the city. However, there are two major highways that still do feed this area, and they're pretty easily accessible from any one of the major arteries.
To give you a lay of the land in Foristell, it has 4 different quadrants, if you will, because it's divided north-south and east-west. So I-70 cuts directly through the middle of Foristell, dividing it into the northern part and then the southern part. Foristell is split half and half between St. Charles County on the east, and with that, you're going to have mostly Wentzville schools with a little bit of Francis Howell schools in the southern part of Foristell. Now, on the western side of Foristell, you're going to be in Warren County and have the Wright City School District. And speaking of Wright City Schools, they just built a brand new high school that opened early 2025.
Yeah, that was huge for the Wright City School District.
So the growth is not just happening in St. Charles County. It really is continuing west into Warren County and Wright City. So there is a lot of growth happening, in this whole western side of the St. Louis metro region.
Foristell is much smaller on the north side of Highway 70. We've got Zykan Builder out there, which is building a beautiful community. Hawthorne is out there, which is just in front of the Zykan subdivision. And then down Dietrich Road, there's beautiful, beautiful homes. I think it's Ryder's Ridge. Those are $1 million homes. And then Incline Village is up further Dietrich Road. You're bordered Wentzville, so you're very close to civilization there. It's a little more rural as we head north. There are, I think, much more opportunity for the new construction on the south side of Foristell.
Now, Foristell, like we said, it's rural, it's more secluded, more spread out. With that being said, you have a ton of outdoor space and parks within the Foristell area or over in Wentzville or New Melly. There is a lot of things you can do outside.
And you're not in the middle of nowhere. So on the north side is Indian Camp Creek Park, which is fantastic. Highly recommend. And if you're on the south side of Foristell, there's the parks at New Melly Lakes. That is another incredible park. It's technically in New Melly, but it's very, very close to Foristell. You can very easily access New Melly and Wentzville from Foristell. And in those two cities, there's a ton of amenities. There's shops, there's restaurants, there's schools. So you're not in the middle of nowhere when you're out here.
Yeah, and plus, if you get on 70 and go east just a little bit, you're going to be at the Wentzville Parkway, which it has just really exploded with growth recently. I mean, you've got new businesses, shopping centers, restaurants. I mean, there's new apartments, healthcare facilities, all sorts of stuff along the Parkway. And so you're just 10 minutes away from that if you live in Foristell.
Literally, the Wentzville Parkway is 2 exits away. You've got your T&W exit on Highway 70. Then there is the David Hochul Parkway, which is a new parkway that does help alleviate a lot of the traffic in that area. Then you have the Wentzville Parkway.
Going from 800 people now to potentially 30,000 by 2032, there is going to be a lot of growth happening in Foristell. And so the city is planning for that. I mean, they are hiring new people to work at the city, local government. They're hiring new police officers. And there is a massive, massive infrastructure upgrade happening on I-70 right now.
So those of us that drive Highway 70 on a regular basis, between Wentzville and Warrenton, it is a very dangerous stretch of the highway immediately from Highway T&W to the Wentzville Parkway. There's what we call an S-curve in the highway there, and there have been a lot of accidents there. That being said, that is one of the projects that is immediately on the horizon, which is kind of a correction of that S-turn.
Across the state of Missouri, there is a $2.8 billion project underway through the Missouri Department of Transportation. I-70 for about 200 miles across the state of Missouri. There are 8 segments of this Improve I-70 plan to add a third lane in both directions and rework the on-ramps, the off-ramps, and the bridges surrounding I-70. And so one of those 8 segments is the Warrenton to Wentzville segment of I-70. And so that is under construction right now. If you drive I-70, you will notice a lot of work on the road. The Warrenton to Wentzville segment alone is a $600 million project. It's under construction right now, and so there's gonna be some construction on the highway for the next couple of years. They expect it should be finished late 2028, early 2029, depending on that time frame. You know, it might be longer, might be shorter, depending on delays and whatnot. But expect for the next couple of years, there's still going to be a decent amount of construction on the interstate. And there's a few things they're doing here. They are adding that third lane to I-70, both directions, and so they're going to have to do some work to the on ramps and off ramps to accommodate that extra lane. They're going to be redoing the intersection between 61, 6440, and I-70 because that can be chaotic in itself because you have these 3 highways that come together and intersect. The Improve I-70 Warrenton to Wentzville actually continues onto I-6440, where they are also adding a third lane between the interchange with 70 all the way to Highway K. So basically, throughout the whole western side of St. Charles County, they are taking this highway with 2 lanes on both sides and making it 3 lanes on both sides. So a total of 6 lanes on the highway to help with traffic flow, ease congestion, and like Kelly said, they're trying to realign this curvy part of 70 where visibility is tough sometimes and the curve is kind of sharp. And you know, when you're going 70 miles an hour on the highway, it can get dangerous. So that is another part of the plan to improve 70.
That exchange that he's talking about at 61, 64, 40, and 70 is extremely dangerous because there's people getting on Highway 70 from Highway 40 at the same place where people are trying to get off of Highway 70 onto Highway Z, which is a very populated stretch of Wentzville. The Highway Z, Highway 70 roundabout did help with some of that congestion into the highway from that Z exit, but they still need to correct where the traffic gets very bogged down. If you've ever tried to get off Highway 70 at Highway Z, you probably have skipped that and gone down to the David Holt Parkway instead because it gets very dicey. I think 40 and 70 are both pretty much under construction almost anywhere you go.
Yeah,
but it's going to be brilliant when it's finished. When I grew up, St. Charles County, nobody lived out here.
Right.
And now St. Charles County is so heavily populated that we have got to start doing something with these roads. So I'm thrilled that they're doing it. And I'm willing to put up with minor inconveniences along the way to get a much better, bigger picture.
I mean, St. Charles County as a whole in recent years has really seen that shift from lots of agricultural and farmland to, the booming western suburbs of St. Louis. And so that trend is continuing into Foristell, where you're seeing a lot of this currently vacant land and, grassy pastures that's getting turned into luxury subdivisions and brand new homes. So let's talk about new construction in Foristell, because that is a huge market right now. A lot of options to choose from. By the way, if you are new to the St. Louis area or Foristell area and you want some help figuring out where to live, finding the right neighborhood, doing new construction, if that's something that appeals to you, please reach out to us. We are a group of practicing realtors over here at Gateway Realty Group. Call us, text us, email us. Our admin Kate will get your information, get you set up with one of us, and we will help you find the perfect home.
We'd love to help.
Starting out with some options on the, the more mid-range as far as price, you got two subdivisions. One is going to be the Manors at Liberty, right south of I-70 on the Foristell exit. This is by McBride. Another option is going to be Providence Estates by Rouse. And so those are two neighborhood options, smaller lots, homes closer together, and, at a more starter home budget level.
More typical of what we see in subdivisions in St. Charles County.
And then if you have a higher budget, let's say between 500 and $1 million plus, you're going to have several options for these higher end brand new neighborhoods. The builder Zyken has Stone Canyon right now. They've got 148 home sites available. That's in northern Foristell.
So on the south side of Foristell, specifically off of Foristell Road, there is Auden Meadow, which is 3+ acre lots, and it is a stunning street. I drove down the street, very, very pretty. All 3-acre home sites by J.S. Clement. Then there's Oakview Farms, which is a Griffey Homes development. And these are all 5-acre plus lots and another beautiful part of Foristell Road.
Yeah, right off Foristell Road, 15 lots in total.
Then off of Highway T is Serenity Lakes, another beautiful 5+ acre development, which is being built by Forest Homes. Then there's South Point Estates, which is you can bring your own builder. But again, this is 3+ acre lots.
South Point Estates is one of the bigger subdivisions out here on acreage. There's 28 lots in total. Some of them are built already, but this is one where if you want to bring your own architect and builder, you could absolutely do that.
These are all very luxury homes. And when I say very luxury, probably at $1 million plus when you finish building in here.
And these are also going to be $200,000 to $300,000 lots that are sold separately. So keep that in mind. That's a little bit different when you build on acreage. Sometimes you will notice that the lot sale is a separate transaction from building the home.
And if you drive down here, it is just such a pretty part of St. Charles County. Every home is beautiful. I was surprised at the number of new luxury homes that have popped up on big parcels of land when I drove up and down Foristell Road recently with our newest listing.
Another luxury subdivision out here, actually off of Highway N, is Dell Creek Crossing. This is a little bit further east, so closer to the Wentzville side of things, built by Fisher and Fritchell. I mean, these are all easily $1 million to $2 million homes. The neighborhood is mostly built.
They do also have a couple already built homes if you wanted something more immediately. I was just there a couple weeks ago with clients.
They've got at least one or two move-in ready homes. And another big neighborhood is going to be the estates at Shaper Farms. This is 52 home sites, all 3 acres or more, located off Shaper Road. There's a lot going on. These are just a couple of the subdivisions that are available right now, but I promise you there's going to be more in the coming years, and there's going to be more that, pop up after this video is live. So keep your eyes out. There are a lot of some of these more smaller, boutique neighborhoods being built where, you look at a place like Wentzville, and that's where you see some of these large subdivisions where you have hundreds of homes being built. You don't see as much of that in Foristell. You see a lot more on acreage and some of these smaller neighborhoods, but we're not talking hundreds of homes with most of these subdivisions.
No, and what's interesting to me when we're talking about Foristell and when Jacob and I were putting this video together, I think this might be the largest number of luxury home builders in one area that I have seen. We do have a lot of people that want to be more spread out. They want to be on acreage. They want some land. They want some trees. There are a lot of opportunities in the Foristell area to have all of that. You will pay for it because some of these homes are going to be touching $2 million. but you are getting everything that you could possibly want. And these are lifetime estates.
Yeah, to your point, I agree. I don't think there's any other area where we have this number of different new build communities on acreage in that luxury price range. Some other areas where you will see similar styles of neighborhoods are going to be Defiance, St. Paul, and Josephville. Some of these areas kind of on the outskirts of St. Charles County that have that more rural and woodsy feel. In any of those areas, you've got maybe a handful of some of these new build communities, whereas, Foristell, we've got at least 8 to 10, different new build communities within a very close proximity.
Which, if you're going to be spending that much money on a home, it's nice to know that there's going to be other communities around you that are going to have similar style of homes so that your property value, it's not like you're $1 million house in a subdivision where everybody's $500,000. There's $1 million houses all up and down the road.
Now, here's one of the things to keep in mind. If you are moving into the Foristell area right now, you're going to be one of the early movers, and there's going to be a lot of other things popping up in the Foristell area. So if you are in one of these brand new neighborhoods and you are surrounded on other sides of your community with, agricultural land or, an old farmhouse that happens to sit on 100 acres, pay attention to that and definitely keep track of, what's going on with some of these parcels of land around you, because they might not be for sale now, but there will be other neighborhoods and new homes popping up around you.
What's farmland today is a subdivision tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee if you buy a house and your lot happens to back to or be next to a farm or some other vacant land, be aware that that could eventually be sold and there's no guarantee of what's going to be built there. So when you're making the decision of where you want your lot to be, just be very well aware of that. Just look at Stone Meadows.
Yeah.
Stone Meadows, forever, everything to the back side was common ground and people would sit on their decks and they had trees. That's the back side of that post meadow. But it's growth. There's no control over it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. If you really want to have a wooded lot, maybe it's worth making sure that those trees and those woods are at least partially on your lot or common ground of your neighborhood.
But also keep in mind, when you're building on a 3 or 5 acre lot, the back side of your lot is still probably as far away as you can see from your house. I live on a 5.5 acre lot, and the back edge of my property behind this heavy tree line is a little pig farm in Highway Z. But if you are in my backyard, you would never know it.
Mm-hmm. So we are super excited to watch the growth of Foristell happening in the coming years. I mean, you're going to see a bunch of new construction, a lot of these neighborhoods that are under construction or under design right now. And so it's going to be an exciting next couple of years to watch, Foristell really grow as a city. So if you would like some help finding your place in Foristell or evaluating other areas of St. Louis, please reach out to us. We'd love to represent you in buying a home or building new construction. That's what we're here for.
We're full-time realtors and we're happy to help you.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for watching today, and we will see you in the next video.
See you next time.
Take care.